This is the Callie Russell signature card. If you're not familiar with Callie Russell, Callie is a wilderness and survival expert. She was on the season 7 of The Alone Show. She has a website if you want to keep up with what she's doing. It's capricorn.com. So the Callie Russell signature card, just like all the Grimm cards, are approximately the size of a credit card. So this will slip right into the credit card slide of your wallet. This will also slide into a small personal survival tin. The back of this stainless steel card, if you were to remove this white backer, this is permanently adhesive, and you could stick this to an object. All the tools come out. The first time you take a tool out of a card, there's a small metal tab, and once you break through that, all the tools are going to be usable, and there is a tool retention system. So when you're done with the tool, you just press it back onto the card, and it's there till you need it again. So here's the knife on the Callie Russell signature card, and you can see her signature on there as well as her website, capricorn.com. And I really like the design of this blade. This has a continuous curve to it, which a continuous curve excels for wood processing. It's got enough of a belly where you can skin pretty well with this, and it's got a really nice point. So this is telling me this knife is going to do a lot of detail work. When you look at the handle of this knife, there really is not much there. This is just like a straight stick tang, and that's exactly what it reminds me of. This is an unfinished Puko blank that I've got. So this is going to get embedded or burned into a wooden handle. With this knife, I 100% would either find a stick with a pithy center where I could drive this in, or I would split and mortise it and put a handle on it that way. So to help you harvest that handle, the top edge of the card has a small saw blade to it. Also designed into the card itself is a line wrap. So you would start your line here, and then we've got indentations on both sides where you could wrap this with fishing line or another small diameter cordage. So Callie did a lot to make this card herself. There is a goat on the Arrowhead that we're going to look at next. Callie actually is a goat herder, and she's got Cajun sparkle as well around the arrow point. So this is a very, very functional arrowhead. This is 3/4 inches wide. So this actually would be a legal hunting arrowhead in my state. So probably my favorite feature about the arrowhead, besides the width, is that the tabs where you would actually lash this onto an arrow shaft is not wider than the cutting surface. Anytime you have anything sticking past the cutting surface, that's going to act as a brake. So this is going to be a great head. It's going to penetrate really well. And a head this size would also work either lashed to a spear point or in an atlatl. So these two items right here are going to serve a couple functions for us. So what we have here is 2 different grit files, and those are usable to sharpen the knife, to sharpen the hooks, any type of metal object that you might happen to find as a trash resource. Files are going to be awesome to utilize those. But these 2 items actually link together and gives you a functional set of tweezers. So those are a pretty fine pair of tweezers. So that's going to work great for first aid. Picking a splinter out is fine, but if you can see it and get a hold of it, a pair of tweezers like this is going to make your life a whole lot easier. Now, these would also work for stings. So instead of squeezing it with a knife and injecting more poison, you've got a better chance of actually grabbing a stinger and drawing it out. So this is a pretty unique item, and I'm definitely happy to have this on the card. So over on the side here, we have a needle. So a needle is a commonly overlooked item in a survival kit. It helps you maintain your gear. You can use this for first aid as well. This is probably a medium-sized needle. This is going to work great for general purpose task. You could certainly maintain any type of clothing, modern fabric or not. This is also going to work great for first aid. So let's move on to the food gathering portion of the card. On the bottom here, I have 3 components, and those are going to combine to make a split stick deadfall. So here's the 2 portions that combine to make the stick, and we see over here there's kind of an indentation on both sticks. So those 2 recessed areas overlap, and then when you have those 2 overlap, the bait pin is going to slide on and hold those 2 sticks together. Now we've got holes and we've got a hook as well. So that's going to help you either tie the bait on or actually attach it to the hook, so it's going to be a little more difficult for the animal to get off. So here's the split stick put together. So this is a pretty effective style. It's proven. This has been on other survival cards as well. So nothing wrong with this at all. This will definitely get you food. Now I'm going to go over all of the primitive trap components on all the Grimm cards in later videos. But essentially, when weight is pressed down on here, this is going to be baited. And when the animal pulls it, it's going to drop the weight. So I've got a couple more components here that serve multiple functions for us. So obviously you can see the fishing hook in here. So that is a proper size fishing hook for realistic fish, in my opinion. If you're just fishing off the bank, small pan fish are going to be something that I target frequently. So this outer portion is not a spinner, so there's no foils on it, so it's not going to induce a spin or turbulence in the water. But what it is going to do is just reflect light, kind of like it's doing right now. So you could take the hook off, you could run your line right through this tag with the hook on the backside, and that's going to function similarly to a spoon. So there are two of these, so if you were to lose a hook, you've got a spare. But they work in tandem as a snare trigger, similar to an L7. So we can see on the spring snare trigger, there's a small recess step. And there is a matching one on the opposite side. So this could be fixed. So you would tie this to a stake, you could tie this to a root, tie it to a rock. And the other end is going to be on your spring engine. So this could be a limb. And these are going to come down together, and those two steps are going to line up. So those are lined up and holding, and when there's any disturbance on the snare, it's going to break free that connection, and the spring's going to go in the air. So this is a second style snare trigger, and you see the 3 holes, so this does other functions as well. So we have 2 of these, so its primary function is going to be exactly like the other one. I'm going to have a stationary end. I'm going to have one on my spring trigger, and they are going to make minimal contact until they're disturbed, and then that's going to release the snare. So this is a great trap trigger, and you see it's got 3 holes in it. So the larger hole, the offset single hole, that's what I would tie the snare trigger to the fixed end. So I would tie this to a stake or to a rock or to a root. I would also use the single larger hole on my spring engine. So this could be either attached directly to the snare, this could be attached to the branch, but it's a nice oversized hole. If I was using heavier bank line, you could use them provide cords with this. Now the 2 smaller holes that are side by side, that lets you use your snare lock as a button. So that's something that I really had never considered before. Again, that's a great idea. I like to have things with buttons or pullover instead of zippers, so there's less to failure in the woods. You can make buttons out of branches, you can make them out of bone, but having one with you all the time, this is going to come in pretty handy, and it's a great multifunctional item. The Callie Russell signature card is a very well thought out design. You've got a great small detail knife that's going to work great for processing small game or for any types of crafts, making primitive traps. It's going to work out great for that. You also have an arrowhead. That's a nice full-size arrowhead. If you were to have a bow or could craft a bow, you'd be winning. If not, this would work great on a spear. It would also work on an atlatl. For crafts, you've got 2 different grit files. You also have the needle and your knife. For first aid, this needle and a set of tweezers like that is going to go a long way to help you out. Now, as far as feeding yourself, you have the split stick deadfall trap, and you also have 2 sets of spring snare locks. You have 2 hooks, and those hooks can be combined either just for hand fishing, or you could attach them to the lure to increase your chances. So if you combine all those tools with the small saw and the line wrap, you've got a lot of bases covered here in a very small package. So you can go in the woods, be prepared without weighing yourself down.